The world has many quiet corners, places where life moves to a rhythm set by the sun and the seasons. Here, in this village, that rhythm is felt in the air itself. The morning light filters through the tall trees, casting long, gentle shadows across the earth. The sounds are of the forest waking. A bird calls from a high branch. The soft murmur of voices begins to drift from the simple homes. People rise with the light, their day shaped by tasks that have been done for generations. There is a deep and abiding connection between the people and the land they call home. Their way of life is woven from simplicity and purpose. It is a life lived close to the earth. Here, the human body is not a source of shame or something to be hidden. For many, in certain moments of daily life or ceremony, clothing is not a necessity. This is not for show. It is an expression of their history and their place in the world. It is as natural as the rain that falls or the river that flows nearby. We come here not to judge, but to understand, to listen to a story that is different from our own, and to see the world through another's eyes. Long before the arrival of outsiders, the people of this land lived by traditions woven deeply into the fabric of their daily existence. These were not just customs, but a complete worldview. Here, the body was not seen as separate from the soul or the surrounding world. Instead, their relationship with their bodies was shaped by the climate and their spiritual beliefs. In a place where the air is warm and humid, wearing little or no clothing was simply practical. It allowed the skin to breathe and made movement through the dense forest easier. This was not a lack of culture. It was a culture expressed differently, written on the body itself. Different groups had unique ways of adorning themselves. Some used leaves, some used shells. Each material held a story. These were not covers as we think of them. They were a visual language. They marked status. They marked role. They marked participation in ceremony. Nudity or semi-nudity also featured in spiritual practices and in rites of passage, moments of profound transition. It could mean a connection to the natural world, a shedding of the mundane. It could mean a state of purity, of being open to the spirits. They tuck and wrap with a leaf, or cover with a hard shell of forest fruit, shown respectfully, non-explicitly. This was not about modesty as we know it, but about their own distinct cultural identity and tradition. The body itself was a canvas for expression. For the Himba people in Namibia, a different yet related story unfolds. They continue to embrace semi-nudity, covering their bodies with a mixture of ochre and butterfat. This protects their skin from the harsh sun, but it is also a profound statement of who they are. These practices show that the concept of dress is far more varied than we might assume. It is about meaning, function, and belonging. The arrival of outsiders brought a profound and often disruptive change. Colonial administrators, missionaries. They often viewed indigenous practices through a lens of moral superiority, imposing Western dress codes as a means of control. Suddenly, a way of life that had been natural for centuries was judged and condemned. Nudity, once a simple fact of life, was relabeled as primitive or immoral. New laws were introduced, and schools taught a different way of seeing the world. The old ways were pushed into the shadows. For many, a sense of shame was introduced where none had existed before, the bodies of their ancestors as something to be hidden. Even when faced with immense pressure, culture is resilient. It does not disappear overnight. It finds ways to survive, sometimes in quiet and hidden forms. While the outward appearance of the village changed, the memories of the old ways were kept alive. They lived on in the stories told by the elders. They lived on in the lyrics of forgotten songs. They lived on in the hands of those who still knew how to craft traditional tools. These were the seeds of memory, planted in the heart of the community, waiting for the right conditions to grow again. The knowledge was passed down in subtle ways. A father might teach his son how to read the signs of the forest. These small, private acts of transmission were crucial, but the story doesn't end with loss. In recent years, a quiet but powerful countercurrent has begun to flow through many indigenous communities. It is a deliberate, conscious movement of cultural revitalization, a turning of the tide against generations of external pressure. At its heart is a resurgence of interest in ancestral practices, including the complex meanings behind traditional dress and adornment. Younger generations are looking to their elders, not just for nostalgia, but for guidance. They are eager to learn the stories, the songs, and the philosophies woven into traditions that were almost lost. This is not about turning back the clock to a romanticized past. It is about making a conscious choice in the present to honor their heritage and carry it forward with intention. This return to tradition is a deeply personal and political act. For some, choosing to embrace traditional forms of dress or to be unadorned is a way of decolonizing their own minds and healing the wounds of the past. It is a powerful statement that says, "We are still here, our culture is valuable, and we will not let it be erased." It is an act of reclaiming ownership over their own bodies, their narratives, and their identity. It is a declaration of sovereignty, written not on paper, but on the very skin of a people choosing who they want to be, on their own terms. The growing curiosity of the outside world has brought a new and complex influence to the village: tourism. It arrives quietly at first, a whisper carried on the wind, promising connection, but also bringing change. Visitors travel from far and wide, drawn by stories of a unique and untouched culture, seeking an authentic glimpse into a different way of life. On one hand, this interaction can bring tangible benefits. The money from tourism can provide crucial access to medicine, education, and other resources that were previously out of reach. It can create a powerful economic incentive for the community to preserve its traditions and ancient crafts, ensuring they are passed down. For some, it offers a way to share their culture with the world on their own terms, fostering a renewed sense of pride and identity. However, the visitor's gaze can also be problematic, a heavy weight on the delicate fabric of daily life. There is a danger that culture can be turned into a performance. Tourists often arrive with preconceived notions, expecting to see a living museum. This creates an unspoken pressure on the community to meet those expectations, sometimes at the cost of authenticity. Korowai people, for example, regularly perform, in line with filmmakers' required stereotypes in order to earn money. The reality is that the majority now live in permanent villages on the ground, and this represents a huge, often unseen cultural change. The line between sharing a culture and exploiting it can become blurry, a complex negotiation with no easy answers. At its heart, this is a story about what it means to be human. It is about the universal need to belong, to have a history, to feel at home in one's own skin. For the people of this village, the body is not separate from the soul or the community. It is an integral part of their identity. The choice to be unadorned in its traditional context can be an expression of freedom connection. It is a way of being fully present in the world, without the layers of artifice that so often define modern life. This perspective challenges us to reflect on our own views. As we leave this quiet place, we carry with us not answers but questions. We are left with a deeper sense of the diversity of human experience. The story of this village is not a spectacle to be consumed, but a lesson to be considered. It teaches us the importance of cultural respect and the danger of imposing our own values on others. The most important thing we can do is to honor their right to choose. They must be the authors of their own future. Telling these stories comes with a profound ethical duty. We must move beyond sensationalism and seek to portray the full complexity of their lives and the respect that all people deserve.